Earlier, we understood that the value of a particular point in a given time series, say the sales data, the value of sales of a given product is dependent on many external factors, which is factors could be the traffic coming to the website or the advertising spend, the price of the product and such. It is dependent on external factors, but along with it, it is also dependent on its own historic past values. And we wanted to analyze the relationship between the series and its own past values. To do that, what we will do is we are going to be creating something called to analyze this, right? To analyze the relationship between the series and its own past values, we will create something called the lag of the series. So you have the date. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to just call the dates as 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. 7 different days, and we have the corresponding values. Let me keep it like this for understanding purpose, right? So we have 10, 20, and so on till 70. We are going to create something called the lag of y. What is the lag of y? Lag 1 of y. Lag 1 of y. What it represents is take any particular day. On that day, lag 1 of y would lag by 1 unit, 1 time unit. So on day 4, the actual value is 40, but lag 1 would be lagging by 1 unit, 1 day unit. So the value will be 30. Likewise, for day 5, the value would be 40. Likewise, on the first day, there is no value. This 10 gets shifted here, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70 will be moving out to day 8. But this is not part of the data. So we are just shifting all the values by 1 unit. Likewise, what would be lag 2? We will be shifting lag 1 one more time. All right, so this will be blank, this will be blank, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So this is called the lags of the series. And now we have another set of column. Now we have two sets of numeric variables. You can choose to treat it as another external variable, just like you have the x variables in your data. You can treat this as another set of x variables and compute the correlations between your y and x1, y and x2, and so on. More further lags. Now, what is interesting to note here is suppose your data is at a monthly level. All right. Look at this. Look at this graph. Say this point. This graph is having certain pattern that repeats every year. Right? You have this pattern that repeats every year. So this data point is not just dependent on its previous value, right? It is also dependent on the value of the series that is 12 months before it. So every 12 months, this sort of a pattern reappears, repeats itself, right? So compared to this point is the lag 12 of this point of the series, right? So I would expect this series, this Y series, is very much correlated with the lag 12 of this series. Why? Because it seems to be repeating the same pattern every 12 months. That's why. So usually for most series, the lags that are close by to it, for example, for the series Y, lags 1, lag 2, lag 3, and so on. Lag 1 is more impacting than lag 2 is more impacting than lag 3, and so on. Right? This is usually the pattern. In addition to this, the lag that after skipping one full cycle of the series, that is after one full cycle of 12 months, so lag 12, that is also as important as lag 1 in certain series, which is exhibiting this kind of a pattern. All right, so that's the concept behind it. Now, how to study this? We just simply compute the correlations between the series and its own lags. That correlation is what we call as the autocorrelation function, ACF. Likewise, PACF has a similar meaning to it, but the way that ACF is calculated and PACF is calculated is very different. PACF stands for partial autocorrelation function. These two are usually used to understand the relationship of the series with its own lags. So now we understand that ACF is nothing but the correlation of the series with its own self. You can compute it using the stats models library. Within graphics.tsa plots, you have plot ACF and plot PACF. Directly you can make these plots. So how to interpret it? Now in this plot, the very first line will typically be 1 because this is the correlation of y with itself. Second line is nothing but correlation of y and lag 1 of y. Likewise, the third line is correlation of y with lag 2 of y and so on. All right. So you can see that as the number of lags increase, the correlation keeps on reducing, and then there's a certain seasonal pattern to this. This seasonal pattern usually occurs, this sort of repeating pattern in the lags usually occurs if a similar pattern or some sort of a repeating pattern exists in the original time series itself. So that is why I would expect to see an inflection point every 12 months in this series. So that represents the seasonality existing in the series. Now, in addition to this, you are also seeing a grayed or a bluish area, bluish region over here. This represents the significance line. All the lags that are more than this or that are crossing the significance line are significance lags. These lags are till up to here. These have a statistically significant relationship with the y variable itself. This part is internally computed by the stats models libraries and made available to us. So that's how we interpret the autocorrelation function plot. Okay. Next is partial autocorrelation function. Now, the meaning behind it is very similar to autocorrelation. That is, it also tells us how much a given lag of the series is impacting the y itself, the main series itself. But the difference is, say, for the second lag, right? Suppose if let's imagine that this is the PACF plot. It is a bit difficult to interpret it here. So what it means is, suppose for this one, if suppose if this is the PACF value, the value plotted here. So this one, this is the influence of, this is lag 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the influence of the fourth lag on y or the main series after removing the effect of all the intermediate lags. That's exactly how we interpret it. This is the unique on its own value, right? On the contributing value of the fourth lag on the main series after removing the effect of the intermediate lags. That is partial autocorrelation function. But now, what is the actual? How is this actual value being computed? What is the math behind this actual computation? To actually calculate it, what happens behind the scenes is internally, stats models. What it does is it builds a linear regression model. Suppose you want to compute the partial autocorrelation function value for lag 4, all right, or 1, 2, 3, 4. This is lag 4. Actually, to make it simple, let me compute it for lag 3 instead. All right, I'm going to compute it for lag 3 for this guy, lag 3. After this, I will compute lag 4. So you will understand clearly the difference. Now, to compute the PSCF of lag 3, what stats models internally does is it creates a linear regression model that tries to explain y as a function of lag 1 of y plus lag 2 of y plus lag 3 of y. All right. After building this equation, the output of your linear regression model is going to contain, so the output is going to look something like y is equal to alpha, the intercept, plus a constant value, all right, a constant number plus beta 1 lag 1 plus beta 2 lag 2 plus beta 3 lag 3. This is the exact output. There will be actual constant values computed. This would be one number, this is another number, this is another number, this is another number. All right, 4 different numbers will be there in the output. You substitute the values of the lag 1 from the actual series, actual data itself, substitute it, you have these outputs from the linear regression model. Based on this output, you will be able to make a prediction for the value of y. The prediction we call it as y hat generally. All right. So y hat equal to alpha plus beta 1 lag 1, beta 2 lag 2, beta 3 lag 3. Now, the partial autocorrelation function of lag 3 is nothing but beta 3. And because we have included lag 1 and lag 2 in this equation, their contributing effects are being captured in beta 1 and beta 2. All right, because this is already captured and beta 3 is accounting for the effect of lag 3, right? Because of the presence of lag 2 and lag 3 in this equation, we are saying that we are capturing the effect of lag 3 after removing the effects of its previous lags. We are accounting for it in beta 1 and beta 2, isn't it? That's why we are calling it like this. What would happen if you want to compute the PACF of lag 4? What would happen is you would compute a similar equation. You will also have lag 4 in it, the new equation. But you will get a new set of coefficients. You build a linear regression model with including lag 4. After including it, you will get a new set of coefficients, alpha plus beta 1 lag 1 plus beta 2 lag 2 plus beta 3 lag 3 plus beta 4 lag 4. Now, a key thing to note here is the values of alpha in this equation and this equation are not the same. They can be vastly different. It need not be vastly different, I wouldn't say vast, but they are likely not going to be the same. Likewise, beta 1 here in this equation is not equal to beta 1 in this equation. Same goes for beta 2, beta 3 as well. Their values will change because we have introduced a new variable into the equation itself. Now, after including this, the value of beta 4 is nothing but this guy. Alright, the value of beta 3 here is nothing but this guy. So for every line you have here, a linear regression model is fit and the coefficients computed. We are using all these beta 3, beta 4, beta 5 coefficients of each of these lags, and those coefficients are being plotted over here. This is exactly how you interpret this autocorrelation, partial autocorrelation function.